All right, I think we can probably get started here. So my name is Anna Harmon. Thank you everyone for joining. Again, we are recording this session, so you can get a copy of this recording after. We'll let you know. This webinar is titled What Makes a Leader and the Evolution of a Career in Energy and Environmental Leadership. So this really is the kickoff event for our CWEEL group for Canada, AEE Canada East. I will let Lori introduce the actual CWEEL and AEE in a moment, but just so everyone knows, in terms of registrants, we got a large number of registrants across Canada and also around the world, so super exciting. We had some registrants, quite a few from Ottawa, Fredericton, New Brunswick, St. John's, Newfoundland, from Halifax, and a couple from PEI in Quebec. We also had some other registrants from other areas in Canada, so GTA, Kitchener, Calgary. We had other countries, USA, Saudi Arabia, Trinidad and Tobago, Italy, Ireland, and Guatemala. So super exciting. Great to see an amazing mix of registrants here and excited to have everyone here today. So a bit of an agenda here. Going to do an introduction to CWEEL, what it is. That's going to be from the founder of CWEEL, Lori Wiegand-Jackson. And then we're going to hear from all four of the board members of our newly created Canada East CWEEL group. I will be one of those speakers along with three other incredible women. We'll speak about our career evolution within the energy and environmental sectors. So that will be kind of the bulk of the presentation. And then after that, we'll have a question and answer period where you can ask any questions that you want to any of the five speakers. And we'd also like to get some feedback if you have any on what you would like to see in this CWEEL group. So if you have ideas pop in your head throughout the presentation, just take note and we can have that conversation closer to the end of the presentation. So Lori Wiegand-Jackson is a successful entrepreneur with over 30 years of experience in the energy industry. As the president and founder of Utility Advantage, Lori supports the company's strategic initiatives with her national experience, including wholesale and retail energy markets, utility energy efficiency programs, and clean energy. She served as the president of AEE in 2007, and she's the founder of the Council of Women in Energy and Environmental Leadership, which is CWEEL, which is what we're here to speak about today. So with that, I will hand it off to Lori to do an introduction on CWEEL International.
Thank you so much, Anna. And I'm so happy to be here this morning, actually now this afternoon for me here on the East Coast. So I'm going to walk through a little background on CWEEL and then talk about things that we're doing today and ways that you can be involved so you can get some ideas of ways that you could participate individually using your skills and talents. So let me just start out by saying that CWEEL is a division of the Association of Energy Engineers, but you don't have to be an engineer to be a part of the organization. So we have lots of different people, men and women, that are committed to CWEEL's mission, and that is to support the career development, advancement, and fulfillment of women in the energy and environmental fields. And we do that with different kinds of programs, with outreach, and through mentorship. So we are really striving to increase the diverse membership of AEE, but also broadly our industry by involving women in all levels of participation and also in leadership in AEE. We have what we call the 4 pillars of CWEEL: career and professional development, mentoring, networking and community, and then we do also have a scholarships program for academic higher education and training. And our website is www.cweel.org for more information about all of that. And Anna, are you doing the slides or am I doing the slides?
I've got them
Thank
here.
you.
Can you see them here, Lori?
Yep. So one of the things that AEE and CWEEL did, and CWEEL really brought this to the Association of Energy Engineers, but that was to join this global movement called Equal by 30. This is a campaign that in part the Canadian government had launched, and there's a series of governments. You can see the flags up at the very top of the graphic. You've got Canada's #1 right there, and here's the United States. But we joined as well, and so these icons at the very bottom, AEE and CWEEL, our commitment demonstrates that we will work towards equal pay, equal leadership, and equal opportunities for women in the clean energy sector by 2030. So we are actively working with strategies to help make that happen, and working with individuals and with corporations to achieve those goals. So we're really excited about the Equal by 30 campaign. And that's something you can bring back to your companies that you work with as well, to if they're not already on the list of participating entities. Next slide, please. And so CWEEL is active all around the world. And we have over 50 women and men in leadership positions working at various chapters in the United States, Canada, and globally, representing hundreds of CWEEL members and supporting local activities for CWEEL. And in these on the left are US and Canada based groups. And we have, Alberta, Canada, we've got Toronto, but also internationally, we're growing in the Middle East, in South America, in Europe, around the world. We're very excited about Asia, the growth of CWEEL as an international entity, making an impact for women in energy around the world. So our structure is, again, that we are a division of AEE. And so as a division of AEE, we, and I'm seeing the slides kind of move back and forth. There we go. We have international regional directors of the Association of Energy Engineers, and then there's international chapters. And so in this case, we're focused on building a CWEEL group, and that's sort of the blue boxed different structures. A CWEEL local group is connected in with an AEE local chapter. The leadership of that CWEEL local group are on the board. They're board positions of the local chapter, so there's leadership opportunity right there. And then we also have the ability to form a CWEEL student group after the CWEEL group gets started. So, and that would be typically helping at a local college or university to encourage women in STEM to pursue careers in energy. So that's the structure. The CWEEL board of directors on the right upper hand side, that's where I reside. I'm the chair of the board of directors. We have an active board. I'll describe it in more detail here in a minute, because there are opportunities to volunteer locally and participate locally in your CWEEL group. And then there's also ways that you can contribute to the global efforts through working with one of the board members and their committees. We do offer a CWEEL Champion Award. So as you develop your CWEEL group, which is very exciting that we're kicking that off today, that we recognize the AEE chapters and local CWEEL groups for the work that they're doing. So we consider that our CWEEL Champion Award. And I look forward to seeing this group develop and ultimately get to that place where you are receiving that level of recognition. So we talked about the 4 pillars, and I want to highlight on this next slide the value of CWEEL. What are we really doing? So around career and professional development, we have leadership guest lecture series. We do various webinar series on career and professional development. We provide technical, educational, and training series that are all led by women. And then we have a quarterly newsletter and an annual edition, CWEEL edition, all women authored AEE journal. So it's a great opportunity to get yourself published around a topic in energy management or sustainability. through the AEE journal process. That's a once a year. The mentoring program, this is for people at any level in their career to get one-on-one mentoring and support, whether it's looking at a career opportunity and trying to make a decision about that, you have some obstacles you're trying to overcome, just trying to achieve personal growth or, get better satisfaction, whatever it is that your goal is, you could participate in the mentoring program and get that one-on-one mentoring. Also you could participate as a mentor, and you could do both. You could be a mentor and a mentee at the same time with different people. There are always people that are at a level earlier in their career than you are, and there are people that are further on in their career than you are. So this mentoring program really is about giving back and taking the experiences that you have and helping others to be successful, maybe not have to navigate the same challenges that you did the way you had to, because now you're providing that additional support. And then the most current upcoming event is our Power Circle. We're really excited about this. So it ties into mentoring and it ties into leadership development. This is a 12-week program of small group coaching, helping people around their career goals. It's limited to 4 to 5 individuals, and there are different people that come in to do the coaching sessions. But it is led mainly by Natalie Osborne, and Natalie is amazing. She's been in a number of our training events, and so we're really excited to partner with Natalie to bring this new program to CWEEL. So the first of these is starting next month, and if you're interested in it, you can go to the CWEEL website or look on CWEEL's LinkedIn social media, and there's information there about how to register. And then we do have a great community. So on the next slide, you actually get to see some of our members. These are actual CWEEL members around the world. And this community, I can't tell you enough, like how valuable it has been for me. Not only do we learn from each other, share our experiences, it helps us to feel maybe not so sometimes isolated, both in this COVID world that we live in, but also sometimes in our work, places that we work, there are not a lot of women there or women that are in your area of expertise. So the network is great from the standpoint of being able to have peers that you can connect in with. But I will tell you that friendships evolve out of this. It goes beyond business. We really are a family, and you can have lifelong friendships that you develop through our network. So it's a great, great group of women. I mean, even just having that network to say, hey, I know you just gave a presentation on green hydrogen. I'm looking at doing something on green hydrogen. Can we connect? I mean, it's amazing, really, the network. So I strongly encourage you to take advantage of that network, get to know people outside of your local group, come to an AEE conference. That's a great way to build that network. And participating in CWEEL events. And so on the next slide, we do show what upcoming conferences there are. So AEE has 3 conferences left this year. If you have the opportunity, I encourage you, even if it's not this year, but next year, take a look and try to attend one of these in-person events. Let me know, let your CWEEL group leaders know that you're going to be there, and we'll make sure that you get connected in as much as possible with the CWEEL network. AEE West is happening in Seattle in just a couple of weeks. AE World is the big international annual conference. If you had to pick one, the AE World event would be the one to go to. This year, it's being held in Atlanta in September. And then for the first time ever, AEE is launching an AEE Europe event. They were trying to launch it in 2019 and 2020 and 2021. And actually, I take that back, in 2020 and 2021. And because of COVID-19, they had to cancel those first 2 attempts. So 2022 is the year we'll actually be launching AE Europe conference in Dublin, Ireland in October. So I'm gonna try to make it to AE World and AE Europe. If you plan on attending either one of those, please let me know. I'd love to meet you there. And then the scholarships program, is for students. So whether it's your undergraduate, your master's, or further along, we do have scholarship monies that we give out every year. And we're really excited. Right now we're giving about $15,000 in scholarships out annually. We've been doing that for about 7 or 8 years. So it's adding up. And every year we try to increase that amount. So, and we've been doing that successfully. So part of your membership and participation helps us to give out scholarships. So I said I was going to talk briefly about the ways that you can share your skills and talents. So these are the various board members. I don't expect you to, look at all these names and who they work for in detail, but I will say that we have lots of opportunity for people to participate. We have career advancement committee. We have chapter liaisons. That's the individual who, I think Anna, I don't know if that's your role or someone else in the organization is your CWEEL. Yeah, she's nodding her head. So that's really the communication link between the CWEEL board and the local chapter. The fundraising and corporate sponsors group, really does outreach to corporations, mainly around being sponsors for our events. I didn't mention, but at each of those AEE events, we host a breakfast, and at AE World, we host a networking reception. Companies can sponsor those events. It's also how we raise funds for scholarships. International CWEEL. So we do break out into US and international. So Chrissy Godfrey from Deloitte is heading up our overall international strategy and has a committee associated with that, marketing, communications, and so on. So you guys can read through all this, but there's lots of ways for you to get involved. And if you aren't sure, certainly start at the local group level, because that's what this meeting is about. Get involved locally, and then you can learn more about how to participate at another level. And then how to be a member. So really just wrapping up here is you go to the AEE website, the Association of Energy Engineers website, go to their membership and chapters on the header, click join AEE and sign up as an individual member. Pick the category that fits you best. They have young energy professional for anyone under 30. That's a heavily discounted membership, but take a look. There's different types of memberships there. And then scroll down and you'll select your member type on the next slide, fill in your information. And then you have to choose CWEEL as a division. So you're joining AEE and CWEEL at the same time. If you're already an AE member, you just need to add this to your existing membership. Again, you're scrolling through, there's lots of divisions of AEE, but only one CWEEL. So sign up for CWEEL. Right now, it had been $30. We just increased it to $50 a year for membership. And if you aren't currently an AE member, you can use the coupon code CWEEL50, and it'll give you 50% off of the first year membership in AEE. So that's the how to do it. And if your company is interested in becoming a corporate member, right now we have 2, DNV and Leidos, are corporate CWEEL members. So they're also corporate members of AEE. But we'd be happy to have conversations with your organization about that as well. You get some great benefits. There's different levels of membership. And so I'd be happy to have those conversations if any of your companies are interested in learning more about that. So that's a long story about CWEEL. I'm so happy to be here today to launch or help launch the this Canadian chapter and CWEEL group. So feel free, my contact information is on this next slide. Link in with me. I'm probably the only Wiegand Jackson. Actually, I am the only Wiegand-Jackson in LinkedIn. So it's not a hard name to find, but link in with me. Feel free to email me or even, give me a call. I'm here to support all of you in your success and hope that you accomplish amazing things in our industry. So please do connect in with me so I can do my part to help see that happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lori. Thank you for that incredible talk and to introduce us all to CWEEL as a whole and how it fits in with AEE. We will, if you have any questions for Lori specifically, just hold them a few minutes until the end of the presentation. And you can ask questions to Lori and any of the rest of us. So I'll move on here. I just want to note a couple things before moving on to the rest of the presentation. So this group is for the AEE Canada East specifically, at least this is the launch for the CWEEL AEE Canada East. For those that aren't aware, our region ranges it's a pretty large region. So it goes anywhere essentially east of the GTA. So we have people from Kingston, Ontario, all the way out to Newfoundland, Nova Scotia. So like a bunch of areas. But as with other CWEEL groups and other AEE groups, especially during the pandemic where there's been a lot more virtual events, these events are open for anyone in any region. So we're really happy to see a large variety of people on this call from different regions. Yeah, so we'll get started here with, oh yes, one note about also sponsors. Just wanted to note that these are our AEE Canada East sponsors, and just wanted to know that they're incredibly important to chapters like ours. They enable us to fulfill our mission financially. So wanted to bring that up as well. These are our current sponsors. I will now hand it off to Jana as our first speaker from our CWEEL Canada East board today.
Thanks, Anna. All right, so early in university, a professor told my class about the concept of known knowns and unknown unknowns. The concept of this is simple. There's things that I know, like 1 + 1 is 2, the molecular mass of hydrogen is 1, solar power is a form of renewable energy. There are also known unknowns, like I don't know how to make a creme brulee and I don't know how to design a circuit board. And then we have unknown unknowns. And these are the things that I don't even know that I don't know. For example, I learned recently on a trip that there are multiple languages spoken in Spain, not just Spanish. They speak Galician, Catalan, and others. And they're really widely spoken too. This was a total shock to me after months of semi-dedicated Duolingo Spanish lessons, and I couldn't even read a menu in some regions. My point being, everyone has things they know and they don't know. But I think the real growth and learning is from things you don't know that you don't know. And I think that's what makes a leader. My name is Jana Giles, and outside of my education and career, you can almost always find me outside. I'm an avid runner, novice rock climber, enthusiastic hiker, and if I'm not moving, you can probably find me swinging from a tree in my hammock, reading a good book. There are few things I love more in life than a lungful of fresh air and the peaceful sound of the wind in the trees. I grew up in Atlantic Canada, born in Halifax, Nova Scotia, but spent most of my later childhood and adolescence in Moncton, New Brunswick, and more recently in Fredericton for university. Although I've lived here my entire life, I definitely have a case of the travel bug. I lived in 3 different countries throughout my degree, leaving Atlantic Canada for the sunshiny Caribbean and rural Africa. And lately I've been packing my bags for 6 months of travel ahead of me for the rest of 2022. I love travel and its dramatic way of forcing you to keep an open mind and learn. I'm now at the end of my university degree and I'm 2 days away from being an official graduate of the University of New Brunswick. You'll probably jump to the next slide there, Anna. I enrolled in the chemical engineering program kind of on a whim because I did well in physics and chemistry in high school. I also did well in English and gym, so really it's a total chance that I'm here now. But as my grandma always used to say, everything always works out. Up until mid-university, my Save the Whales and Recycle Plastic environment-loving self always declared that I would have a future in renewable energy. Obviously, that's what I considered to be the only way to balance a love of math, modeling, and problem solving with my extreme passion for Mother Earth. But as you probably know, no path is ever a straight line. And my journey to stumbling upon CWEEL and AEE was also not straight. Desperate to make connections and learn more about the green engineering profession, I pretty much threw myself into anything that sounded remotely similar. Jumping into opportunities has been central to my journey and discovering what I'm interested in professionally. For example, in school, I took oodles of extra classes to explore topics other than chemical engineering. entrepreneurship, political science, bioeconomics, development, philosophy, you name it. I met different people and I got used to different teaching and assessment styles. I had conversations that simply aren't possible within the limited confines of an engineering degree. Engineering, in my opinion, is math for people. So why not take courses where you learn more about the human condition, human priorities and values and diverse experiences? This kind of thing can't be captured into an analytical equation, but it needs to be central to design if we're going to create a world that's inclusive. As engineers, especially on an academic level, sometimes we like to think about problems as black or white, but life is a whole lot of gray. And by taking classes other than engineering, I learned that the best solutions to problems are solutions that take into account more than just engineering. And a good leader should recognize this and ensure that every solution incorporates a diverse set of ideas, especially ideas that the leader themselves probably wouldn't have come up with on their own. My learning experiences outside of academia were drastically different from within the confines of academia. In classes, I often found myself surrounded by peers, which is a setting that I'm comfortable slipping into a leadership role. However, in internships and co-ops, suddenly I was often the youngest and the least experienced person in the room. And this is a totally different dynamic than in what I was used to growing up in. And as I found out, one of the best opportunities to develop leadership skills was actually in watching and listening to the mature leaders around me. While most of my co-ops have been in renewable energy and energy efficiency, I worked one summer at a brewery. A mentor of mine was responsible with planning the industrial packaging schedule. Instead of relying on planning tools, software, and calculations alone, this mentor physically stood up and walked every day to the packaging line and met with the operators on the line, those that were physically handling the bottles, cleaning the lines, executing the schedule. And sometimes the advice from the operators overrode what the software thought was best, but it was actually more effective in the end. The concept of embedding a human aspect into the planning was more effective than numbers. And this also created a great dynamic between the planning and operating team, meaning that conflicts were openly addressed and inefficiencies were discussed frequently rather than never. This, in my opinion, was a great example of leadership. On the other hand, sometimes watching mature leaders can challenge me to ask tough questions. Just because a senior engineer is doing something one way doesn't mean it's the right way, and we would be naive to assume so. So I encourage young people to learn from their seniors, but also don't hesitate to ask questions and challenge your seniors. Developing a great leader, in my opinion, is something that cannot be taught. It doesn't matter how many conferences you attend or lectures you listen to, it's the practice of leadership that develops leadership. That's why I'm so grateful for opportunities through extracurricular activities such as Engineers Without Borders to practice leadership. I had a privilege of living in a town called Soroti in Uganda one summer, which is in Eastern Africa. I was working at a startup there that was an entrepreneurship hub for local farmers that were looking to expand their business into value-added sectors, like drying pineapple or making fruit juice. My role was supposed to be as a business coach. Now, I'm not from Uganda, and my knowledge of the business sphere in Uganda is super limited. I've taken courses on entrepreneurship here, but I didn't want to assume that those theories applied globally. So I asked questions and I listened. To a farmer starting to sell individually portioned dried pineapple, I asked him, what do you think people would be willing to pay? What would it cost you to make? Could you make a profit? How are you going to obtain supplies? I never ever gave advice, only asked questions. Now, we all have a long way to go in truly listening to others and understanding their perspectives, but it's a start. And listening is key to any leadership role. Standing at what is really the starting line of my career, I feel like I've been fortunate enough to experience years of training from professionals and peers around me before reaching this point. I've been happy to listen to, question, and approach problems with an open mind. I've been humbled and enlightened that in the grand scheme of things, there are many, many, many more unknown unknowns than known knowns or even known unknowns. And acknowledging that fact and being open to listening to others is what makes a leader. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you so much, Jenna. That was excellent. So my name's Anna Harmon. I work with WSP Canada, more on that in a minute, and I am the CWEEL lead for our newly formed group within the AEE Canada East group. A little bit about me outside of work. So outside of work and outside of my career, I love everything outdoors. I love to rock climb. The picture on the right is a picture of me visiting my brother out west. He lives in Squamish, British Columbia, beautiful place for anyone who has not had the chance to visit. I love cross-country skiing. So I'm based out of Ottawa, and just next to Ottawa and Gatineau, there is an incredible hundreds of kilometers of cross-country skiing. And so I love doing that in my spare time in the winter, hiking, camping in the summertime. Travel is also a huge passion of mine. It's been great to get a little bit back into travel recently with things opening up in the world right now. I'm also have a musical background. So I grew up singing for many years, and I still love to sing with a group of individuals. Picture on the top is actually when I was in university with a small group that we created for singing, but I now sing with a group of 30 or 40 excellent musicians. And I love different sports, so cross-country skiing was one of them, rock climbing. I like to try out tons of different sports. So I'm always up for new adventures and new sports with lots of friends. So career-wise, I went to Queen's University for mechanical engineering. I chose mechanical engineering because it was pretty general, and I didn't really know what I wanted to get into. So I thought it would open my doors to a lot of different opportunities. In my internships or my summer internships when I was at Queen's University, I did work for a couple HVAC companies, so pretty typical mechanical engineering, mechanical jobs with the Mitchell Partnership, TMP in Toronto, and then HTS in Toronto. So I got a lot of experience within the actual buildings and mechanical world. And within those companies, there was for sure sustainability as a factor, and that was brought into a number of their projects. But I knew that I wanted to focus more fully on sustainability. And so through talking to a number of different people, I learned about WSP's sustainability group. And I got involved with WSP out of my undergraduate degree with the local Ottawa team, their sustainability team. They had teams across the country. And I did a number of different things. I did different certifications. I did energy audits. I was working on sustainability strategies and carbon reduction strategies. And now I'm still working with WSP Canada. I'm actually currently on sabbatical, which has been incredible, an incredible experience that WSP has offered me. But while I'm at WSP, I am now a climate change consultant. We are now a national team, so our climate change team is across Canada. I work with colleagues from across the country on a daily basis, and I lead decarbonization strategies. So what that means is that I lead my clients with buildings across Canada, buildings across the world, on developing strategies and plans for them to decarbonize their portfolio of buildings through plans with Excel and reports, and through lots and lots of discussions with the client and different stakeholders. So that's a bit about my career. There are many lessons that I've learned along my career and along my schooling. Here are just a few of them to share with you that I've found extremely important. One of them is to voice what you want to work on. So there's a quote by Robin Hobb that says, "If you don't decide what you will do with the rest of your life, someone else will decide it for you." And I found that super important with career and with everything else. It's important to sit down and think about what you want to do, big and small, right? What are the projects that you want to work on currently? What are the things you want to work towards in the next 2-5 years? And make sure that you voice what it is that you want to work on. Because if you don't voice that, people in your team aren't going to know that, and they won't know how to help guide you in that direction. And so I found that a very important lesson. The other one here is speak with people at all levels. Don't be afraid to speak with people just because they're higher level than you. Make coffee chats or set up coffee chats with as many people as you can within your company and within other organizations to learn what they do and to learn lessons from them and to make connections. Put up your hand for exciting opportunities. make sure you're there. Make sure you're making a little bit of noise and putting your hand up. If something is exciting and you want to be part of it, kind of goes along with the first point of voice what you want to work on. Put your hand up for those opportunities and you'll learn the skills that you need to along the way. Now, the last bullet point here is to learn how to say no. This is something that I continually am working on because it is extremely important to learn how to say no, to find your boundaries, to know what you can work on and what is going to push you over the limits. Learn how to say no so that you can actually look after yourself, so that you can look after others. It's extremely important that we all stand up for ourselves and to be able to stand up for others along our way. I'm going to pass it now along to Afaf.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Anna and Jenna. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So my name is Afaf Azuz. I'm a senior manager specializing in climate change, ESG, and sustainability at Deloitte. I'm based in Montreal. Let's start with outside of work first, I guess. I am a proud mother. I will start with that. I have lived in 6 cities in the past 12 years of my life. So you can imagine that I've been hopping around quite a bit, and I'm quite happy to stop the hopping and settling down a little bit in Montreal. I've lived in 3 continents throughout this time. And I, as you can imagine, I enjoy traveling just because of also my background. So I've been, I think that I think the most exciting temperature change was within 2 weeks, I moved from doing a vacation in Thailand that was plus 30 degrees to moving to Winnipeg at minus 30 in January. So I think I jumped 60-degree difference in a period of 2 weeks, which was very interesting. Like you can see here, I've become a seasoned skier as well. I'm not perfect, but I really love doing that, and I love traveling. Something different to say is that I'm not an avid blogger, but I do occasionally enjoy writing pieces that help inspire the world. And the one that I'm really proud of is one I published right after my maternity leave ended. I published an article with CBC Ottawa, and basically trying to make the case that maternity leave teaches you a lot. It's not actually a break from your career. It's actually quite a skill that you learn, and it's a skill you never really learn on the job. So I think that got a lot of traction, and it got a good conversation around, if when you're counting your career years, are you counting including the maternity leave or without the maternity leave? And yeah, Laurie, I'd be very happy to share that article in a link once I'm done. But yeah, just always thinking about that and challenging people, because going to a supermarket with a baby in the dead of winter is quite a challenging thing, especially when the baby won't stop talking and screaming at you, and you also need to buy the groceries for the next 2 weeks. So just as simple as that. I'm also a very proud engineer. So let's move on to the career piece. My path is, I started off as what they call an architectural engineer, and I learned how to design buildings, the functional programming of the buildings. I learned how to, generate forms that spoke to people, and then I moved on. I'm originally from Egypt, if I may say that, and I kind of chose, in Egypt, a lot of people transition from architecture engineering into like interior design, because it's pretty much built up. So there's not much opportunities to build anymore, other than doing a bit of interior design. But I actually chose a very different path. I moved into a co-founder role within a startup that was building off-grid, 100% net zero energy, sustainable buildings in off-grid locations in a desert, and using sustainable materials. And that was really, really exciting, because we got to work with earth constructed materials. We got to apply some solar energy to the buildings. So it was very eye-opening experience. But then I realized that I kind of plateaued at I was able to build functionally what the buildings look like, and had good concepts, but I wasn't able to quantify, how hot is it going to get if I used natural stone in the hottest day of that desert, but also how cold is it going to get and at night, for instance. So I went and pursued my master's in the UK at the University College London, doing sustainable buildings engineering. And I learned a skill called energy modeling, and that, amongst other things, I'm just focused on that one because it really gave me the tool to quantify the impact of my building designs. And then when I moved to Canada in 2016, I lived in Winnipeg, Ottawa, and Montreal, and I used to work for Stantec Consulting as a building performance engineer. And as I transitioned from city to city, my career kind of grew one by one, and it really started. Towards the end, I was leading the carbon impact team in Quebec and Ontario, and basically, I was. We would be using energy modeling to help our clients decarbonize their built environment. But also what I find really, really exciting, because there's a lot of people who aren't, let's not call them believers, but they're fence sitters when it comes to sustainability. I love speaking a language that everyone can understand. So we would couple the sustainability piece with a business case and show them that the return on investment is actually quite profitable for them. Understanding that this building needs exactly this kind of technology based on its age, based on where it's located, based on its function, based on how it's being operated. So I did that for like 6 years, and I just recently moved as a senior manager to Deloitte, like I said, as part of the ESG practice, national practice as well, and focusing on ESG and climate change. And there, I think I moved a little bit more from just looking at one building at a time to more of a portfolio of buildings, similar to what Anna's doing. But I'm not just looking at buildings anymore, which I really love. I'm looking at oil and gas companies. I'm looking at, supermarkets. I'm looking at government buildings. So it's the realm of, I'm looking at banks and how they do their GHG accounting. So it's become much more broader, and I feel like I can also influence many sectors better. So it also felt like a natural transition of my career. Maybe let's move to the lessons learned as I go. Basically what I learned is you have to be really proud of your background, and you have to use that to your advantage. So you have to see what you're really strong at, and then you market yourself. So everyone's has their own personal brand that they have to promote, and people will listen to you irrespective of which part of your career you're at. So that's definitely something I learned. And it's okay to say I don't know, even the more senior you are. I actually find that quite humbling to say, you know what, I don't know, I'll get back to you. My move from Stantec to Deloitte, like looking just at buildings to looking at everything, I'm okay saying like, I don't know about the standard, like tell me. But it's also great to find like partnership opportunities, and you have something to offer that someone else might not have. And I would say the great opportunity you will find it if you're ambitious enough. But I would actually advise a lot of people who are still starting their careers to set their own limits first, find their work-life balance first, and then you go grab those great opportunities. Because if you don't know what's important for you first and you set your own priorities, then I think it's going to be quite hard and challenging to you'll always be saying yes, and you'll just get burnt out. And some people ask me, what certifications are really important. I'm a BEMP, like a building energy modeling professional. I've become a PEng along the years, a lead professional. But a lot of people are like, what is the best certification? I'm like, don't use the certifications to supplement your experience, not the other way around. So I would say look for the good experience first, and then look to supplement with your like the natural transition of your experience and supplement your certifications. And then the last thing I would say is think about the bigger picture, but know when you're being asked to do a task, when you need to be like 10,000 feet away from a task versus 2 inches deep into a task. So with that, I think I'll pass it over to Heike.
Thank you so much, Afaf. So my name is Heike Schreiber. I'm working at the National Research Council in Canada, and with this, you could skip to the next slide, please, Anna. So I don't know. Yeah. So this is, I guess, not only about me outside of work, but in general about me. I'm sorry for that glitch in that slide. I am a mechanical engineer, and during my career and my education, I studied about renewable energy technologies in Spain, because by that time, the university I was studying at didn't even offer renewable energy courses. So I had to go abroad to get experience there, and I found that exciting opportunity. And I decided to spend a year in Spain to learn on renewable energies. And then I also went abroad to France and did an internship there. And the way that came about was also very by chance, actually, because I just ran into a professor from our university who happened to have contacts there, and he seemed to like my attitude. He seemed to like my enthusiasm, so he helped me organize this internship, which for all of my other colleagues and students around me has not been really simple to find something like that. So that's one of those examples where you see an opportunity, go grab it, go for it. I was super scared before I went there, but it was one of the best experiences of my life. Well, and then I finished my university period in Aachen. That is a town on the border to the Netherlands and Belgium in Germany. And I did my doctorate in mechanical engineering. So in German, we don't call it a PhD, it's called a doctor engineer in this case. And I've also worked for that university as a researcher. And that's maybe one of the biggest distinctions from my career path to the 3 awesome ladies that have been talking before me. I've spent most of my career in research, and in my job right now at the Integrated Building Performance team at the National Research Council, this is maybe the most applied that I have ever worked on science and technology. All my years before that, we have done research on technologies that don't even exist on the market yet. So now at NRC, my topic is the low carbon technologies and renewable energies integration into the Canadian built environment, which I find pretty exciting. That basically wraps up what my career path has been, but what I find is very important, and I think that resonated a little bit with what all the others have been talking about. You are only whole as a person if you have both your personal life, your personal interests, and your work life, which is why I put all of this together in this one slide. And I would just briefly like to walk you through the pictures that we're seeing here on the screen. So on the upper left corner, you actually see my workplace. And I've been cross-country skiing after lunch, but I think this picture is taken in the afternoon. And I looked at the buildings, and I took this beautiful picture of the place that I've been working in, doing something I love, which is cross-country skiing. And you see another picture on the screen where I'm actually dragging my daughter around at -20 degrees Canadian winter, because that's another part of my personal life. I'm a proud mother of a sweet baby girl. She also, as you see on the lower right corner, sometimes joins me in the home office, which I think a lot of us have been experiencing, home office situations these days. And that is something particularly challenging for a leadership position in particular, because in many ways you are the one leading meetings. So if your baby walks in and interrupts you, which might happen in a home office situation, that is something you learn how to deal with. But I definitely agree with Afaf that all the experience has only made me a better engineer, and most importantly, a better leader. Because what I believe leadership mostly is about is understanding the people that you work with, getting a good sense of what they can do, what they want to achieve, and then team up and work together and help them achieve their goals. So that brings me to the 2 pictures with a group of people on it. On the left-hand side, that is my former team, as I said, doing research in Germany, working on adsorption technologies, I was the team lead of those wonderful people there and had the opportunity to work alongside them and do ground research on energy technologies. And on the upper right corner, that is actually my current team, or I should say the leadership of my team. My boss is standing next to me cycling, and that's what we are doing all together as a work team in our free time. I said in the beginning, we go cross-country skiing over lunch, but we also go cycling in summer. And that is something that I find is really, really helping me balance work and life, to have those interconnected. The last thing I wanted to just point at is the picture on the lower left corner, which brings me back to the way where I started. I've been sitting in such a large group like that, studying mechanical engineering. And then later on, I've been also standing in front of such a large group, teaching them about thermodynamics. And both experiences, being exposed like the center of focus for so many people, but also being one of so many people and basically feeling like no one, that's the two centers that you're constantly managing to stay somewhere left or right center. And that's what makes life exciting to me as well, to not only be in the same position. With that, I would like to go to my last slide, which is about the lessons learned. First and foremost, I think my biggest lesson is find something that excites you, because work can get pretty stressful. And if you're not willing or enthusiastic about what you're doing, it will get hard to drag through when times get really challenging. The other thing is a big lesson: team up with others. We're not alone on this planet. Nobody is achieving anything alone, in particular, not anymore. The times have become so varied, and knowledge is so broad. You can't be an expert in anything, so you need others to get anywhere. And it also is far more fun teaming up with others, achieving your own personal career development, but also helping others with theirs. We all cook with water is something we say in German. I had to look it up. I think the English equivalent would be everybody puts on their trousers one leg at a time. Resonates with something that I've heard from my other speakers before. Don't be afraid to talk to anyone. Even if they are way above your pay grade, they also only cook with water. They are people, and you can talk to them, you can learn from them. And the same with people that are in your team that are maybe below your pay grade. Treat them as equals. That's something I really find very important, and something I've done my entire career. And I think it also resonated in particular with all of what we've been saying so far. Look abroad for ideas and solutions. Don't stick your head and say, okay, I'm in Canada, I need to see what Canada needs. There are so many other people around the world and so many other things to look for. I would highly encourage everyone to get out there, travel, maybe get the opportunity to work abroad for a while. It will only bring you back great ideas. And with that, I would like to thank you and pass it back on to Anna.
Thank you so much, Heike, and thank you to all of our speakers. I know